Hello everyone, Judy Medora here with the Oily Krafter, my husband Greg behind the camera. Today we're going to try to sublimate on a Dollar Tree mug. This one here we figured out is a 15-ounce mug. So over on the heat press we have that heating up already for our mug press that we have. We got it going at 400 degrees and we got the time set for 2 minutes and 40 seconds. So one of the things that we're going to do with the mug itself, you don't want to use rubbing alcohol because I've found out that it makes it hard for the laminate to stick that we're going to be using. And so I'm using a microfiber cloth. I'm just going to wipe off the fingerprints because I've been messing with it. And I want to set it upside down when I get done. Because when we're getting everything lined up, we're going to want to line it up with the bottom here because we do have this lip. I've measured it. This particular one is about 4 1/4 inches below the lip. So I made my laminate about a little over 4 inches because I know I'm not going to go all the way to the bottom, but I'm going to go close to it. Then I measured around. This particular mug has about 10 inches. So I'm pre-cut my laminate, which I'm using the matte. This is the standard matte laminating film, 3 mil. This is the 12-inch by 250-inch roll. It's 1-inch polyclear core. So if you're wanting to order these, and so these are the matte finish, like I said, they're 3 mil. So I cut it down.
And do you remember who you ordered those from?
Southwest Binding.
So I recall they did an outstanding job of getting it to us in a very short,
yeah, we had
timely
like 2 or 3 days.
very short period of time.
And we ordered 2 rolls of the 12-inch and then 2 rolls of the 18-inch. So we have 2 different sizes. But so I got it cut down to what I believe will fit the mug. And to make it easier to get the mug in and out, plus it also helps protect the mug press itself, I did some butcher paper. I do that to help keep any extra moisture out of it. That's going to wrap around it. It's going to make it easier for me to grab hold of it and pull it back out when it's done. So what you're going to need as well also is you're going to need some heat tape, heat resistant tape, to hold it down to the mug while you're getting it ready to put into the heat press. And of course, and then when you're cutting it down, whatever supplies that you need to do cutting, like I used a rotary color. This is a metal ruler, and and then like I said, microfiber. Those are pretty much all the supplies that I feel that you need, and we'll go over this a little bit more as we actually start putting it together.
Hi, this is Greg Medora with the Oily Krafter. So we are on the computer now and we are ready to pick our image. So we've gone out into the internet and we found an image that we're going to use. Now please keep in mind that just because you find an image on the internet does not mean that you can use that image free of charge and then sell it to other people and make money off of it. You have to make sure that you have the proper authority and the proper approvals to be able to use images and then sell them for profit. So it's called a commercial license. So today we decided we're gonna pick this image, and here we're just gonna accept the defaults. Notice it's gonna bring that image in here. So we've got that image now. It's in Inkscape. Now one of the things I want to point out is this image came in and it's 8.3 inches by 5.479 inches tall. What was the height of the image that we could have?
On this particular mug, about 4 inches.
So about 4 inches. So if we click this button right here, if I lock this, then when I change the height, it will maintain the proportions. So now we're at 4 inches high by 6.068 inches in width. So on us, that's probably about the right.
Yeah, because we don't want it more than like 7.25, I think, to wrap around the mug.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm going to do is, at this point, is I'm just going to kind of center this. You notice my ruler here, it's set to pixels. We had a little problem with the other computer that we have only set up for Inkscape and being able to do desktop recording, so we had to shift to another computer. So I apologize if you're looking at these scales and you see that you're a little confused, but just right here, again, pay attention. You can change on the image I have selected. You can change whether you're working in millimeters, inches, pixels, etc. So this particular case, we are changed to, again, we have our image selected. It is 4 inches. It is 4 inches by 6.068 inches.
And we want to go into File, Document Properties.
File, Document Properties.
And check which paper we have chosen. We want to make sure it's the letter 8.5 by 11.
Yeah, let's see here. So US letter.
Yeah.
And we've got it set on landscape.
So there you go. That's what we're wanting.
All right. And here you can see 11 by 8.5.
And it's in inches.
And it's in inches.
So we can zoom out, or you can see the whole page if you want. I can't remember where the zoom is. I think you hold down the control and use your wheel.
View, zoom out.
So you can actually see the paper.
Yep. And
in the document properties, if you don't want to see that paper, you can turn that off. This helps you ensure that when you send it to the printer, it's within the printing zone. Otherwise, you won't get the full picture. Yep. We found that out through when we were doing another video.
So bottom line is, what I'm going to do is I'm just allowing for a little bit of, we just got the one picture today that we're going to do. So I'm just going to offset that just a little bit here. Now, one of the things I do want to point out, when you go to print this out, you either have to do one or two things. You either have to mirror this image, or you have to have the printer set to mirror the image.
You can go into printer settings there, I think, somewhere, and show them.
And so right here, what we're going to do is we're going to go into File, Print. Now, by default, I need to pick the printer that we have set up for our printing is Sublimation, is a Epson Workforce 7720. I go to Preferences. You notice here I have one, and I've already gone through and custom set all of these settings here for Cosmos Sublimation. Again, we're using Cosmos ink. We've had really good success with it. Notice we have Paper Cassette 1. Paper Cassette 1 lets you pick a number of different paper types.
It gives us more choices.
Gives you a lot more choices. If you use Paper Cassette 2, you won't have those choices, right? So again, quality under more settings. You want to make sure you're set to quality right here. Under settings, there wasn't anything there under settings. I'm going to come over here to more options. Notice here on document size, we've got 8.5 by 11, same as document size. Color correction needs to be set to custom. Advanced, make sure you're on ICM. Down here, under image options, you're going to make sure that you have edge smoothing turned on. Next thing, make sure high speed is normally turned on. In this case, you do not want it turned on. You want mirror image set, right? So we've got all of those printing preferences selected, and right here, if I go ahead and send this, do we have special paper in there?
I do not have the paper in there.
Okay,
yet.
so I do not want to send this to the printer. So we're going to go over to the printer, and we are going to make sure that we have the A sub paper loaded.
Alrighty, so when we're over here at the printer, I have an Epson Workforce 7720. We're going to perform a maintenance head check because we don't run our printer every day. It'll help make sure that all the lines are going to be full, and when the ink flows, when we actually print out the picture, it will be a good quality picture. So what we do, we go into settings, go into maintenance, and do print head nozzle check. On mine, it's the very first one. I'm going to pull my paper tray out so when the paper comes out, it won't fall on the floor.
So here's what we mean by test pattern, if you will. As you can see, the one on the left, it actually looks pretty good. Right down there on the very bottom of the black line, trying to get the camera to focus. Maybe too close. There's some fuzziness there. A little bit of broken line. The one here on the on the right, the second one, it's much cleaner. So we decided, and you may have to repeat this step a few times in order to get good, clean, completely filled lines. What you don't want is a lot of broken segments. Broken segments means bad print on your picture, which means bad or incomplete mug.
Alrighty, so we're back at the printer now, the Epson Workforce 7720. We're going to use A-sub paper. We've had very good luck with this, with the Cosmo ink on this printer. The 125 gram has really been recommended for the Workforce 7720, so that's what we're going to use. We're going to put it in the top tray, and when we put it in the top tray, you're going to notice that A-sub has printing on the back. I don't know if you can see that through the glare or not. And when you see that printing on the back, with this particular printer, I don't know about all the other printers, because this is the one we work with, we want to see and be able to read that A-sub.
Okay.
So when you put it in there, you'll be able to read that. It's going to be upside like that.
Hang on. Up. Pull that plain paper out of there.
Okay. Yeah, we did have problems with that last time, didn't we?
And we ended up printing twice because we left plain paper in there.
Do we want to put a couple of sheets of the A-sub in there then?
You can put a couple of sheets of A-sub in there if you'd like.
Yeah.
But I do not want anything but A-sub printer paper in there.
Yeah.
Because last time, if you recall, what happened, just put 2 in there. I do not want several. Last time what happened was we had a single sheet only in the printer.
And it wouldn't pick it up.
And it would not pick the paper up.
Alright, there we go.
Alright, so now we have the paper loaded. Hang on.
It's 8.5 by 11, high quality plain paper. Whoops. Our favorite paper settings, so that's what we have in there, 8.5 by 11, the high quality plain paper is what we want. So we can just hit OK.
Okay, so we have our paper loaded in the printer now, and the only thing left for us to do is to hit print. So we will show you the result of that printout when we get it off the printer. Go.
Alrighty, that even though we didn't put it on high speed, it still prints pretty quickly. Relatively quickly for a picture. Here we go. And this is the way it looks on the sublimation paper.
Okay. So next step will be to trim it down so that we can apply it to the mug.
Yep. Alrighty, so one of the things that we should have done earlier, and we're going to have to let you guys know, when we put this on, after it's been through the heat press, we need to let the mug cool. So I'm going to go ahead and get this lined up and taped on, put it in the heat press, and we're going to try 400 degrees for 240 seconds and see how the actual laminate looks on the cup. And then we're going to come back, cut this down. After the cup is cooled, wrap it around, and then put it back in the heat press.
And keep in mind, the reason we're doing this is rather than buying the expensive mugs that already have the sublimation on them, we went to Dollar Tree and we bought a $1 mug, and then we already had the laminate, so we're trying laminate on a mug that we paid $1 plus tax for. And so we're going to try that just because, quite frankly, we've ordered some mugs that had sublimation built into the surface of the mug,
the coating on it,
and the coating on it, and we had some problems with a lot of breakage. And so we're trying this just to see, just as an experiment, see what happens. So we will let you know. Go.
Alrighty, so I've got the laminate on there. It's kind of hard to see. I tried to keep it close to this bottom edge here. Got it taped on. I'm going to wrap it in the butcher paper, and that's really important when you get to the picture. I'm going to hold on to the handle the best I can, set it in the mug press, then I'm going to try to get it all. Alright, so now here we go. Time started counting down. 160 seconds, 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Alrighty, so we're down to about 30 seconds here. One of the things I want you to notice, we try to keep our handle as close to center as we can so we can maximize the space for the image, because whatever's not inside this kind of brownish red will not adhere to the cup. So I'm probably going to have, since I took the laminate all the way to the handle, it's probably going to have some that I'm going to have to trim off with an X-Acto knife. But you can measure if you have a heat press, you can measure this around that when it's cool. And I'm going to need my glove here when I go to take this out. And like I said, I'll probably have to trim up that deal. All right, let me put my glove on here. All right, so now I'm going to bring this over here, set it down, take the paper off, and bring it closer to where you can see. Okay, you can tell I had the laminate much bigger than my press area. You can see where the wrinkles are. I will have to trim that down with an X-Acto knife after it cools a little bit, because I don't want to mess with it while it's still hot.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well we're focusing on that.
Alrighty, so I've got my image here. While I'm waiting for the cup to cool down, I'm going to cut it down to right next to the edge, seeing how we've got, we put it at 4 inches, and the mug itself under that lip is 4 1/4. So I want it really close on both sides. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm getting it, but you want to leave your length unless you're just wanting to tape it. That's one of the things that we could have done a little different. Looking back at it, we could have centered the image. That way we'd have had equal part to go around. No big deal. Just put the tape on there and you'll be good. So here we go for the other side. Make sure I'm on my mat. And we'll... Oops. And I was... little, my edge wanted to move because I didn't have the paper under it totally. I guess I'll turn it this way so I'll have better leverage on the edge there. Well, one of the things too, if you're like me, you have sweaty hands, I keep a paper towel close by, so I'm not really too sure how much sweaty hands will affect the paper, like if you're doing a bigger deal and you end up touching where the actual ink is. Not sure. So we're going to kind of center this probably. I don't know if I want to put it on one side of the mug or the other, or try to put it in the center because of the length of it. So how long was it again?
About right at 6 inches.
6. Yeah, so the longest you want to make it, at least for our mug press, is 7.5. I misspoke earlier. I said 7.25. According to my notes, we got 7.5 that we can work with an image. This particular mug, the height of your mug will tell you what your height is, and whether or not you have one that's rounded on the bottom. You don't, unless you're real special and you know how to do that rounding. I try to stay to flat surface the best I can.
And regarding the length of the image, here's why it's important, is we tried one very early on, an 8-inch length. That 8-inch length, what happened is out on the edges, it was too long for the press. So that part of the image didn't heat up. If it doesn't heat up as a result of being in the press, it's not going to transfer onto the cup itself. So you're going to be left with no image or a partial image where it's not fully heated. So that's why that's important.
Alrighty, so the cup is cool enough now I can put my hand in it. And I wasn't sure whether you guys could see or not where it's loose here, where it didn't get heat. Now there is another technique that I don't have the equipment for, where you can just use a toaster oven and what they call shrink wrap. And you can actually put your sublimation stuff on there, shrink wrap it, and then heat it. I haven't tried that. It's going to be interesting to see once I get around to buying the equipment and trying some shrink wrap on that. Now, we also got to discussing, because of the way we did the picture, how are we going to place it on the mug? Had this been a longer image, you would just take it and you would wrap it around the mug. Since it's shorter, I decided I want it more that way, I'm going to have to trim this paper down a little bit. Also, if you're just doing a single image where it's only going to cover one side or the other, think about who you're giving it to. Do they drink with their left hand or do they drink with their right hand?
Or do you double the image and you put the same image on both sides?
Which we did with another cup that we did. But so that's one thing. But if you're just wanting to do one side, think about what hand do you drink with. Do you want to see the image or do you want other people to see the image? That's all what things people consider when they're making mugs. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cut down so I can get it taped to the mug. That's one other thing that when you decide on your size, you're going to have to make sure how it wraps around your mug or goes on one side or the other. So I went ahead and left my extra space here for tape because I don't have a whole lot for tape on this side. So, and I'm going to place this upside down. Then I'm going to make sure right now my image is right side up. So I'm going to flip it to where it's upside down and towards me because you want it going towards the cup. And then I'm going to try to keep it close to the top where I put my sublimation paper, my laminate paper at.
And again, you want to make sure the cup is absolutely cool before you start doing this.
Yeah.
If the cup is warm at all, then it may start trying to transfer the sublimation ink to the mug before you're ready.
Yeah, because
you need help?
No, I'm just making sure I got it where I want it. Okay, so because the ink itself is heat activated, that's why we put it in a heat press. Okay, so I got that side taped, and I'm taping this side. I'm going to try to make sure I give myself some space there on that, where that, don't want to cover much of that image. Okay, so I got it taped on there. I'm going to take it back over to the heat press. We'll wrap it in that butcher paper again to help protect the heat press from the ink, because the ink sometimes bleeds out through this paper. And we'll see you in a minute. Okay, so we're going to leave it at the 400 degrees for 160 seconds, or the 2 minutes 40 seconds. We haven't done this. This is our first time run through. We have done no testing, so it's going to be interesting to see how this comes out. When we get done, after it cools, and I trim off this extra, it's going to be interesting to see, because people have asked me about, does the laminate peel off? We don't know. We haven't done this before. So this is all a test on film. Let me get this centered. Alright, so here we go again. Let me get in there best I can. And having the paper really makes it easier to help line up that handle a little bit. And I'm trying to make sure my lip is outside the mug thing a little bit here. I got it too far that way. Because the lip itself may keep some of the pressure from going straight onto the image itself. Alright, so now we just got to wait for the time to go count down.
We're rolling.
Alrighty, so we're down to 5 seconds. Getting ready to pull it out. It's going to be interesting to see how this all turns out. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off because I know I'm not going to use it again here. Okay. Alright, I'm going to let it sit for a minute here. I'm going to grab my weeding tool. It's good for helping pull tape off. Okay. Seeing the image a little bit through there. This is going to be interesting because we've never done this before. Get that tape started. Alright. Oh, it's peeling off the laminate, so we're going to have to let it sit for a little while longer till it cools. Otherwise, I'm going to pull the whole thing off. So, there you go. This method may not work. So, we'll see here in a few minutes after we've let it sit for a little while longer and cooled. Alrighty, so we've let it cool for a little while, and we're going to try to take the tape off again. I got an X-Acto knife here to help me kind of loosen that tape up and cut it right along the edge of my photo, just so I can try to keep from pulling anything off. And I'm so afraid I'm going to cut through everything. I'm having a hard time with this. So I'm just going to go back to this and see what happens. So kind of see what I can do about pulling it loose. And get rid of the tape this way. Okay, and now what we're wanting to know is, did it transfer? And that's what we're fixing to find out. I think it came across pretty good. I still have a little bit of color up here at the top where, because of the lip thing here. I mentioned that as I was putting it in there. I was afraid the lip was going to cause issues with that. Pulling the tape off the other side.
And that would be based on style of mug, whether or not you have the lip or not.
Yeah, and so, but as far as the color came out, I think it came out really good.
Yeah, it does look like the colors came out really well. The other thing that we have found with regard to sublimating on mugs, ceramics, is it's not just what it looks like as soon as you take it out of the heat press and let it cool a little bit. It's let it set for a while, because we did another mug for a friend that the colors look kind of dull when we pulled it out and pulled the A sub paper off of there, and we let it set. We let it set overnight and took it the next day to his give it to him as his birthday gift. And when he opened it up, the colors were very vibrant colors. So
yeah, the purples turned more bright and stuff, and we were like really surprised. So we didn't know if that was something we did or what. So I still have the tape on the stuff over here. I knew I was going to have to trim it down, but you can see.
Yeah, let me see.
I was trying to figure out if we can get you to see.
Yeah,
kind of like right in here where it started peeling off because of the tape. Not really sure you can get it.
You can
there
see
you
it.
go.
I
now you can see it.
Perfect.
Yeah. It started peeling off because I'm pulling the tape off. And I still have to trim this up here. But what we've decided was, seeing this, that you're going to have, if you do this, it's going to be for decoratives only. You're going to take your little foam deal and make you a flower pot out of it.
What if you put Mod Podge over the top of it? Dishwasher safe Mod Podge.
That is if you get a clean deal off. I would say, yeah, you could. The dishwasher safe Mod Podge might keep it on there, but like, I mean, can't really see it on the camera, but there's a lot of bubbles and stuff where it started pulling up because I started pulling it off too soon while it was still hot. There we go.
Yeah,
there's a lot of bubbles in there.
You can see a lot of bubbles in there.
That's where I was pulling the tape off.
Yeah, you.
But as far as the color in the picture, fantastic.
Yeah.
And I got it to wrap around pretty good.
Yeah.
And but there again, I don't think this is going to be good for long-term use or for actual drinking out of, because if you put hot liquid down in here, it may cause the laminate to come loose. So I was going to show you, this is one of the breakage mugs that we had from the order of sublimation mugs that we actually ordered. This is another 15-ounce mug. It doesn't have a lip. And you can see where we have one picture on this side, nothing in the center, and then one picture on the other. If it still had the handle, you could drink it with either side with this particular picture, the way we did it. Or you can make it wrap around like this one here.
Yeah.
And you can make it bigger. We just, because we didn't want to distort the picture, we made it, it didn't, we've got a couple of inches here on each side. Right. But as far as the transferring of the color of the actual image to the laminate, it did great. I just don't think for drinking purposes that this is a good method to use on the Dollar Tree mugs. But it'd be good for making, for like say, putting the pencils, or if you're like me, you have a lot of craft supplies in there.
Well, we might be able to try putting some Mod Podge over there.
Yeah.
And then you might be able to do a hand washing, a gentle hand washing. I doubt seriously that it would ever be dishwasher safe.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
With Mod Podge.
Because
even
with
with
the
Mod
heat,
Podge covering on there.
with the heat and stuff, I think the laminate may come back off. To where it's like when we did the wood and the ceramic tile, that's not something that's going to be reheated. It's all decorative.
Yeah.
So I don't think this for usage. And I didn't get my picture quite all the way on the laminate. There's some down here that doesn't have picture on it, and there's some up here that's not on laminate, which is interesting. But yeah, that peels right off with my thumbnail, so that's not permanent either. So there you go. There's our recommendations with doing a Dollar Tree mug, laminating with the lamination sheet. As far as the color, like I said, it did good, and but I don't think it's good for actually a drinking mug when you're done. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring that little bell for us. And I want to thank you for watching and giving us your time today, and hope you enjoyed the video.